Welcome to the big show, everyone. I am Trish Regan. We are live with you on this Friday afternoon, and wow, we got a lot going on. First of all, Donald Trump warning of a potential 1929. How do you like that? Well, you know what? I got to tell you, he's right. In fact, I think it could be worse than 1929. I think it could be Venezuela. If this woman gets her way, we're going to talk all about that. Plus, the Trump campaign is hitting back at Kamala right now with a very effective new campaign ad that I want to share with you. You got to see this stuff. Very, very, very good. Meanwhile, the Democrats have this really perverse way of going about things, right? Everything is like inverted. They've now got Stacey Abrams alleging voter fraud in Georgia because, why not just use somebody else's argument against them? It's copycatting. It's stealing. It's, just like what Kamala did with no tax on tips. Anyway, we're going to talk about Disney's Snow White because there's a new cry for help from the film division to none other than the parks and theme experiences division, one side really needing the other. And do you guys know who Blake Lively is? Anyone? Blake Lively? Gossip Girl? Come on. I know I don't necessarily have, the teenage girl demo, but Gossip Girl, I watched it when I was older. Anyway, Blake Lively's in the news. She's like Hollywood's golden girl, and she is the center now of a new attack campaign. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to see some swimsuits because Anna Paulina Luna has got a few fans out there, a lot of conservative women that are donning their bikinis in defense of her after the left slammed her for her beautiful physique. Welcome to the program. Great to have you here. I am Trish Regan. I want to go straight to Donald Trump. Donald Trump giving a big warning, ladies and gentlemen, warning that, you know what? If Kamala gets her way, if she's actually elected and any of these things happen, you ain't seen nothing yet. You thought the last 3.5 years were bad? Wait for it. Let's play it.
You don't have to imagine what a Kamala Harris presidency would be, because you're living through that nightmare right now, and it is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And you're going to stop inflation, but we're going to have a crash, and we're going to have a crash like a 1929 crash if she gets in.
Well, we would have a 1929 crash, and guess what? I don't know. Maybe the crash would stop the inflation, but not really. Because think back to other societies that have tried things like price controls, which is exactly what she's pitching. Price controls were tried in Weimar, Germany. And guess what? Everybody was wheeling around those wheelbarrows were the Deutschmarks. Price controls were tried in Venezuela. And guess what happened? In Caracas, the Bolivar, it's actually worth less than toilet paper. Okay, that's what they were using, for not to be crude or anything, but I'm sorry. I got to get real, right? Because this is real. It's actually really frightening and sort of surreal that as an American, I'm sitting here listening to this. Let's listen to Kamala Harris, who moments ago unveiled her big economic plan. She's going to control prices, and somehow that's going to inspire competition. Watch.
As Attorney General in California, I went after companies that illegally increased prices, including wholesalers that inflated the price of prescription medication, and companies that conspired with competitors to keep prices of electronics high. I won more than $1 billion for consumers. So believe me, as president, I will go after the bad actors. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food.
She can't even say it. Stop for a second, please. She can't even say it. She's trying to say gouging. I'm telling you, it must be in the water at the White House. Biden had the problem. Now Kamala, clearly. You know why? She doesn't understand any of it. This woman is not bright. She doesn't understand economics. She has no policy background. She has no skill, and yet she's running for president of the United States. Let's continue to listen.
My plan will include new penalties for opportunistic companies that exploit crises and break the rules, and we will support smaller food businesses that are trying to play by the rules and get ahead. We will help the food industry become more competitive because I believe competition is the lifeblood of our economy. More competition means lower prices for you and your families.
Okay, lady. So if you believe in competition, guess what? You're not going to set prices. You're not going to have price controls from the federal government. Look, it's been tried and tried again. And FDR tried it here. Didn't work. Didn't work. Venezuela tried it. We know what happened there. Look, it's been tried in every communist and socialist society in the world. It does not work. Plain and simple. Go read your Econ 101 textbook. Oh, maybe she has one. Maybe she has one written by her dad, who's a post-Keynesian economist. Of course, didn't grow up with him, so he didn't really raise her, whatever. But he's at Stanford, and he's kind of lefty, like super lefty, right? He believes that the state should be all. And again, I say to these people, okay, go live in Venezuela. Thank you very much. Go there. Enjoy it. We'll see how that works out. I told you yesterday. I mean, I can't believe it. When I was back at CBS, they sent a reporter down there when I was in Venezuela, actually covering how messed up the oil industry had become and how it was on the verge of total decline and implosion and disaster. Because you know what? This is an honest reporter that you're looking at right here. Make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, all that stuff. It's important. Also hit the bell. But I'm, what you see is what you get. And so even though I was working with one of those big networks, I went down there and I did this story on how the oil industry had just been completely devastated, right, in Venezuela. And it really didn't have a shot. Why? Because he put all his cronies in. It was socialism, et cetera. He kicked out anybody who actually wanted to make any money because he was going to take that money, redistribute it to everybody. Oh, and put it into healthcare and socialized medicine. And they sent a reporter down there to say, this is the way of the future. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. Well, the problem is all these media organizations, they believe that like in their heart and soul. And then they get paid on top of it to believe it in their heart and soul. So think about how that works. That's some twisted version of socialism meets capitalism. Means, oh, I can project these ideas onto you in hopes that you'll believe them, because really deep down in my heart, I believe them, except I'm willing to take a big paycheck to say these things. I mean, it's pretty disgusting. Anyway, Donald Trump hitting the nail on the head saying, we got an inflation problem, ladies and gentlemen. Just take a look at eggs and bacon for that matter. Watch.
And then I left because of an election where I got millions of more votes than we did in 2016. We got millions of more, from 10 to 12 million votes more. Think of that. No president has ever gone with that kind of an election uptick. Usually a president will get less. President Obama got less, much less, his second time, but he won. But he got much less. We got 10 to 12 million votes more, and that's not including other votes that we can talk about at another day. But this is their votes, 10 to 12 million more. And we left, and that's when all the problems started. We didn't have these problems. We would have never had a problem with Abdul. We would have never had a problem with anybody, frankly. And I'd have to say, you're looking at things behind me, and they did a nice job. Wow, I haven't gotten to see. That's good. I don't like the tags very much. Look at that, up 46% eggs. Wow. Up 65%. Wow, school lunch is up 65%. How can a family afford that? But look at this over here. What a nice job. I think I'm going to take some of them back to my cottage and have a lot of fun. Like the Cheerios. I haven't seen Cheerios in a long time. I'm going to take them back with me. Bacon is through the roof. They're all through the roof. The milk, everything is bad. And we're going to straighten it out. We're going to bring prices way down. And we'll get it done fast. And with her, it's just talk. She's a radical left San Francisco person who destroyed the place. And I don't know. It's hard to believe that she can even be in the discussion. They had a group of 12 people that she was considering, and they put her name in there, and they marked them, who were the best and who were the worst. And she was actually rated the worst of the 12. They had 12 plus her, 13 people. And they rated her the worst. Now, 6 weeks ago, she was considered to be a failed vice president and a failed administration, a disaster. And now all of these people are talking about her like she's Margaret Thatcher, liberal version. She's not smart. I don't believe she loves our country, and we cannot have our country destroyed because
she's definitely not smart. As for whether or not she loves our country, I'll tell you this, Kamala Harris loves herself. Numero uno. And she's trying to find the most expedient path forward to get numero uno more votes. So what is she proposing? $25,000 to any first-time homeowner. Come one, come all. Step up to the plate. I'm going to give you 25 grand. Like, that's going to actually control housing prices. Think about it. Just think about it for 2 seconds. I know it sounds great. Wouldn't it be great to have $25,000? Only problem with that is you just jack the price up 25K and then some for every single new first-time home buyer. Kamala, just like you guys did with college loans. Like, college actually used to be affordable until the federal government got involved, and now it's outpaced everything, along with healthcare, of course. Because again, you get the federal government involved. It's not that hard. It's not rocket science. But you got to be able to add 1 + 1 and wind up with 2. You got to be a logical thinker here, and Kamala Harris is not that. Logical on votes, maybe. Okay, I think this is going to resonate. You know what? Grocery prices are higher. Well, I'm going to wave my magic wand and just tell all those grocery companies that they cannot charge you that much. Well, you know what the grocery companies are going to say? Okay, thanks, Kamala Harris. You know what? Out here. Bye. See ya. Sayonara, lady. Because there is no way a business is going to stay in business and lose money day after day, week after week, year after year. Go ask Whole Foods in San Francisco, or the Walmarts in San Francisco, or some of the hotels in San Francisco. They've all bailed on California because you get such lawlessness there and such high taxes that it doesn't make any sense. So Kamala, you go with that all day long, and you will devastate America's economy. $25,000 for first-time home buyers. Oh, and by the way, she wants to have a special sweetener for those of you that are first-generation home buyers. I guess that's a nod to all the illegal migrants crossing the border, living here illegally. Guess what? If you pay your rent for 2 years on time, the federal government, courtesy of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, a crazy socialist who doesn't own anything, including his home, not even one stock. I mean, I guess via his pension fund, but he doesn't individually own anything. Another conversation. These people want to give a special sweetener to the illegal migrants who come here, because if you've never owned a home in America, well, then you're special, 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 and we're going to give you even more money. I mean, what about America's middle class? Like, what about the people that are doing it right? What about the people that actually pay their bills on time, save enough money to own a house, are hopefully saving up some equity in that home for their retirement? She doesn't care about you. She's going for bigger numbers. She's going for a different crowd. And this is the scary thing right now. This is why we are now on the verge of possibly some devastating consequences. You've heard me talk so much about it in terms of freedom of speech, in terms of what I can say here, what I love about this show. You just saw the subscribe button. Make sure you do subscribe, share, like, all that stuff. What I love about this show is that I have this opportunity to connect so directly with you guys. And without the, paraphernalia, if you would, and the excess of the big network telling you what you can say at any given time. But I can't be so assured that that exists in a regime, and believe me, it would be a regime that's willing to put in price controls. When you get somebody like Tim Walz, who actually says, and we've played this tape for you, that you do not have any kind of right to freedom of speech if you're passing along, quote, misinformation or disinformation. Well, who gets to decide? Tim Walz and Kamala Harris get to decide. That is the problem. Okay? That is the problem. Because all the things that they have told you was misinformation and disinformation, guess what? Most of them I can go right down the list from Russia, that dossier. I can go to the Hunter Biden laptop that was completely fictitious, remember? I can go right down the list and I can tell you all about all the things, the virus that didn't come out of the Wuhan lab, all the things that they insisted were misinformation were actually true. So our freedom of speech is under threat. Our economy is under threat. Our survival is under threat. And she's got backing. She's got backing from some senators like this one, Bob Casey, going on to say, you know what? Yeah, hell yeah, we ought to give the federal government some power to control prices. Give me a break. These people, unbelievable. Let's watch Casey.
Well, it's really not at the grocery store level. This is at the corporate level, Willie. They've been making record profits. We've never seen the kind of profits in corporate America the last couple of years. And when they're doing that, they're bragging about increasing prices. So my point is that we should give the federal government the power to investigate just run-of-the-mill price gouging, and you give the people an opportunity to fight back against them. As I said, if they're not engaged in corporate price gouging, they got nothing to worry about. But this is long overdue. People are tired of just accepting higher prices. Now, consumers obviously have a lot of power here, and because I've pointed it out for the better part of 9 or 10 months now, people are putting pressure, and some of that public pressure is working on some of these big corporations. But look, they've had it pretty good. They got the biggest tax cut imaginable, along with the billionaires. That's why they're attacking me in this campaign. They know I won't vote for their tax cuts, and they also know that I'm not going to give up on prosecuting this case on corporate price gouging, and people get it.
Okay, so here's the deal. If there's a monopoly practice going on and they're all getting together and they're conspiring and they're saying, okay, let's raise prices on this, that, and the other, and if I do it, you do it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's illegal. All right? Fair and square. That's illegal as it should be. But if a corporation has to pay more because of Kamala Harris's and Joe Biden's stupid, I mean, there's no other way to describe it other than absolutely, positively stupid energy policy that drove inflation through the roof, combined with, of course, their massive spending. Think about it. I mean, the economy was well on to recover. We were up 30 some odd % in the third quarter of 2020. And then the fourth quarter, maybe it was the fourth quarter of 2020. And then we get in the first quarter of 2021, we were up like 5%. I mean, we were growing until they doubled the stimulus, more than doubled, of what Obama had done that was so outrageous years ago, right? So government gets in there and they start printing money and they start spending money and they give these handouts to everyone and they tell everyone, you can stay home, you don't have to go to work. Guess what? We're just going to give you a check. And then we're going to keep those checks coming because we just voted for these more things. Wow. That's going to give you inflation, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody had any place to spend their money because they kept everyone shut down and then they kept rolling out the checks. That is the reason why we have inflation. And so it combined with lousy energy policy, at the same time, they cut off all energy coming out of Russia. No nat gas. No, you can't take it out of Russia because of Ukraine, etc. They simultaneously decide to shut down energy production in the US of A. We used to be the world's number one, and we were energy self-sufficient. I mean, imagine that. No more, because they want us to be green, you see, but we don't have the capacity to be green. So we're in this like limbo land. They drove prices higher. So corporations had to spend more to get their goods from point A to point B. And consequently, they eventually had to raise prices. Like, it's that simple. It's that simple, Kamala. Go read an Econ 101 book, please. I have several. You could borrow one. My uncle wrote one. He's a capitalist. Any good economist is. Funny little anecdote for you. I grew up in New Hampshire, and the joke was, among the folks at the economics department at Dartmouth University, Ivy League school. The joke was all the English professors, they lived on the Vermont side of the border. Dartmouth College, you see, it straddles Vermont and New Hampshire. But New Hampshire is live free or die territory where we have no income tax, no sales tax even. Somehow we still get by. Yeah, what do you know? Somehow it all works. And so the English professors would live on the Vermont side, but every self-respecting economics professor lived in New Hampshire. Of course, Kamala's dad probably would choose Vermont, but the smart ones lived in New Hampshire. No income tax. Sounds like a good way to go, right? No sales tax. Thank you very much, baby. Anyway, let's move on to this. Oh, I got to show you the consumer price index. That's what I wanted to show you. So this is 2017 through 2024. This is amazing. Okay. Prices. How do you like that? Look at where we were in 2017. I keep saying that. I say this to my kids all the time, and I'm like, just a couple years ago, it only cost this to do this. And they're like, and I'm like, I can't believe it. Like, this is how much it is now. But like, this chart kind of explains it all, guys, right? You look at that massive increase. So when they say, oh, inflation's coming down, inflation's not really coming down because it was already high. And even if it's not going up as much as it did the month before, it's still going up. So how do you keep pace with that? Listen, I'm going to tell you, you have to invest. You have to invest. You have to invest. Hear me out on this. You have to invest, which is why I started 76research.com with Rob Horton, a very brilliant stock picker who's been on Wall Street a couple of decades. And I convinced him to come over here and do this because you know what I said? You guys deserve more. He's run mutual funds, billions of dollars in mutual funds, and he's really, really smart about hand selecting the best stocks in each sector. And we've had a tremendous track record. Absolutely tremendous. We've beaten the market. It's absolutely fantastic. I want you to check it out. Okay. So there's 3 portfolios in there plus the 76 report. You can get the whole thing. The Founders Club is the best value, but you can buy one of the portfolios. There's 3 of them, as I said. Take a look at this because there's 10 to 15 names and we handhold you. We don't buy the stocks for you. That's on you. But we tell you what to do. And it's important that you understand what to do in an environment like this. There's a lot of volatility. I get it. Rob's actually going to be on 76 Research, the YouTube channel with me coming up right after this show. So I encourage you, peace of mind. I know you go over there. Hey, we're a live show, by the way, so careful what you write. I can see everything. And if I miss it in real time, I'll find it later. So just know all eyes are on you. Anyway, peace of mind. We'll see you guys over there at 76 Research coming up because we have some things to say about AI. I firmly believe, and Rob can walk you through the numbers here, but I firmly believe that there's a lot of change that's still coming. And so for those out there, and there's some investors that are critical about technology, et cetera, oh, it's not all that great. It's great. Okay. It's great. Like I wouldn't be doing this here with you right now. This show is live. This couldn't have happened 2 years ago even. You needed that network with the giant satellites and the cable connection and this, that, and the other. I mean, it just couldn't happen. When I was a network correspondent and we'd go to cover stories, it was such a premium to get on live, right? You'd be on the evening news show live and you'd get your minute 30 plus maybe 10 seconds of live talk. And it was a big deal because you had to have a satellite truck and it cost thousands and thousands of dollars. And here I am. I'm able to do this with you right here. It's crazy. So there's so much change happening. And it's one of the big reasons I love technology now. We have a big piece on this at 76research.com, 76research.com. We just came out with this today. I also tweeted it. I put it on Facebook. It's everywhere. So I'll put it up on the YouTube channel too. And I'll put it in the show notes. So go check it out. Oh, the CNN anchor really shocked everyone. CNN host Abby Phillips saying the unthinkable. I mean, her colleagues are like, what are you talking about? Because she actually said something that made sense. I got to give credit where credit is due. This girl gets it, right? So this whole price gouging thing, oh, we're going to fix it by just putting in caps, I guess, on prices. She knows that this is nothing but political chatter and it makes no economic sense. Watch Abby Phillips as she shocks her colleagues at CNN by admitting the truth.
Mark, here's what we can't say about what the polls say. The CNN's polls, we try to take the best polls, only the best polls here at CNN. It's basically a statistical tie between the two of them. However, that's better than where Joe Biden was a few months ago. So the race has kind of evened up. But here's one thing. I mean, one of the things that we learned about her policy that she's going to roll out is support for a ban on price gouging. Now, I think reasonable people would ask, what does that mean? What does that really mean? And how is the government going to be involved in it? Here's Noah Rothman in the National Review. He describes this policy as a rank pander to the economically illiterate. And despite the presence of many who fit that description in Congress, they understand that allowing the executive branch to functionally set prices is a brain-dead idea that would only hurt consumers in the long run. I mean, is this just a ploy? Because it sounds kind of like it.
Well, look, if you like it, it's called good policy. If you don't like it, you call it pandering.
But is it really?
I enjoy that. They're like, whoa, 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 where are you going with this, Abby? Where are you going? How dare you? You're not supposed to say that, right? Because everybody's like drinking the Kool-Aid. They all want to support Kamala Harris. I don't know why. Except that that's their horse they've chosen to back. It's not like ratings are going to go up, right? I mean, like, who helps their ratings? Sorry, hate to say it. It's Donald Trump. Donald Trump. What would they do without Donald Trump? They'd need like more scary plane situations or, more March 2020s to talk about over there on CNN. How dare I say? But it's sad because otherwise they're living from tragedy to tragedy for their news cycle without Donald Trump. I mean, he's bringing it home. He's bringing it home, at least on that front, for sure. Anyway, Abby Phillips, really shocking her colleagues, but giving the truth. And that matters because you got to say that sometimes. So this is interesting. The Trump campaign is out with a brand new ad, ladies and gentlemen, new advertisement, and they're hitting Kamala right where it hurts because you see she's a little bit of a copycat and she can't come up with her own ideas. So she's stealing Donald Trump's. Watch.
The Internal Revenue Service under Joe Biden now wants to crack down on tips in the service industry.
This was a policy of her own administration, and now she's saying, oh, no tax on tips.
Harris is a puppet. She doesn't have one original idea.
How many times did President Trump say this?
Everybody knows this is Trump's idea. He's taken it to the forefront. But look, the media is covering up for Harris, and she's counting on that.
What I think she's doing is looking to copy the Trump plan. The American people aren't stupid. He's been saying this, and Democrats in some cases have even said negative things about it.
How does she reconcile that against the policy she's been a part of with Biden-Harris, where they've gone after, haven't they not, with the IRS, things like taxes on tips?
In the past, the vice president pushed for increased taxes across the board to pay for progressive programs. This includes bumping capital gains taxes to 35%, increasing the estate tax.
She is just not able to do much else. I mean, besides steal and plagiarize.
Kamala has no imagination whatsoever, as shown by the fact that she played copycat with no taxes on tips.
Wow. This is pretty good. And this is actually, I think, something that's going to resonate. And I think Kamala's not going to have a lot to say on this. I mean, she's not going to say anything, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, because she's made this decision, a calculated decision that she doesn't have to say anything. Her campaign said that this week on CNN. The guy went on and said, yeah, she doesn't have to give any interviews. So they figure she doesn't have to give interviews. She doesn't have to give press conferences. She can have hand-selected questions. It can be very controlled, much like none other than Joe Biden's was. Remember, he'd be like, oh, wait, can I call on you? Who are you? Oh, I'm going to get in trouble. He kept saying that over and over and over again. So they are trying to control her narrative. She herself is clearly very controlled. And so she's not actually going to do an interview. She's not going to do a press conference. And in fact, I'm sort of stunned that she's even doing a debate. But then again, the debate is hosted by none other than the woman who set her up with her husband, the president of ABC News, owned by Disney, ladies and gentlemen, Dana Walden. She is responsible for Kamala Harris finally finding a guy. Like, a real one to marry, if you can call him that, because he ran around on his wife with the nanny. We won't really go there, but unseemly stuff. Okay. So I'm not saying she's got the best taste in men, shall we say. But Dana set her up with Doug. And Kamala and Doug lived happily ever after, with him becoming, or hoping to become, one day the first gentleman. I don't know what you call him as the husband of the vice president. I don't know what that is, technically speaking. That this is an ad designed to hurt her. I think it's going to work, actually. I mean, the problem is the media is so saturated, and they have gotten their marching orders, and they are taking this to heart, right? So they're going to just follow exactly what David Plouffe and David Axelrod, these are the former Obama campaign managers that are now running the show for, none other than Kamala, right? So they're going to do exactly what those guys tell them to do, including this little one. I mean, this is kind of perverse, if you ask me. So the Democrats right now are trying to sort of reverse the whole blame game thing. They're looking at Georgia, and they're worried about Georgia because it looks like Trump's going to win Georgia, so they can't allow that to happen. So what do? They start talking about, oh, somebody's stealing votes. Interestingly enough, I'm allowed to say this. I do believe I'm allowed to say this right now on YouTube, because it used to be that you couldn't actually mention these words. And then they came out with an edict saying, no, you can talk about this now. Well, that's good, right? Because the Democrats want to talk about this. Funny how that works. So down in Georgia, they're talking about none other than Donald Trump possibly stealing the election. And you got to be so careful because, those conservatives are all about voter suppression. How dare they ask you for a license when you go to vote? I mean, if you want to go to a Kamala Harris rally, you got to show a license, but you're welcome to go vote with no proof of identification at all. Stacey Abrams over on, of course, MSNBC, talking about this exact issue. Watch.
I mean, it's. I hear your optimism, and I hear your deep and enthusiastic support for the ticket. I wonder, though, if you could put on your voting access hat for a second, if you could talk to me about your level of trepidation about actual election day, given the fact that I believe the Georgia legislature, the election board in Georgia, just passed 2 rules, one of which allows election officials, some of whom are very MAGA-fied and are election deniers themselves, to arbitrarily refuse to certify election results, and therefore, opens the door to a lot of chicanery in terms of certifying the statewide results. What's your level of concern about that as we barrel towards Election Day?
It's deep concern, but it's a deep concern that I've held for several years. This is Brian Kemp's baby. This is his state election board. He signed the laws that have given this elections board the ability to run amok, to refuse to not only certify elections, but to enable mass challenges at the county level. We have a Secretary of State that has a cancel your voter registration website that has unfortunately violated access to data privacy at least once that we know of. And so I want us to understand that the fight in Georgia is a fight to protect and defend the right to vote. I'm so proud of the work that Fair Fight continues to do, working with allies across the state and around the country to lift up what's at stake. I'm not optimistic. I am determined. I believe that we can get this done because we've done it before. And we didn't do so ignoring the reality of voter suppression. We did so by calling it out, by confronting it, by making certain that voters understood all of their rights, and by doing what we could to raise public alarm. And while this is happening in Georgia, we've got to be watching states across the country that are going to face similar challenges. Voter suppression remains one of the top tools that Republicans use in order to win elections. And we've got to push back by demanding free and fair elections where we can. And so while I am very bullish on the capacity of Vice President Harris to win Georgia, I know it's only going to happen if we do the work necessary to raise the alarm, but also to hold accountable Governor Kemp, Secretary of State Raffensperger, and that state election board that wants to have the ability without impunity, to actually decertify election
Okay, we got to
results.
cut her off.
This is not
I can only take so much in one day. I mean, first price controls from Kamala Harris, and then this insanity from the likes of Stacey Abrams, who, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, this is the woman who wouldn't actually admit that she didn't win Georgia. Right? Like that was the whole, She basically pulled a Trump before Trump ever was willing to. She still insists that whole thing was rigged and that somehow she won Georgia, and she never conceded. And guess what? She got a cover article in the New York Times Weekend magazine. Double standard. You think? I think. So that's Stacey Abrams trying to use what Trump is fairly, in my estimation, arguing, which is that, you're not really getting a fair shot here because there's a lot of people conspiring against you. I mean, hey, you don't even have to have an ID to vote. And Kamala's bringing in some 10, well, we don't know exactly the numbers, millions of migrants across the border. Guess what? You're going to have problems. You will, but they don't want you to see that. They don't want you to look at that. They just want you to feel good, right? Like, just feel good because George Clooney likes her. So you should too, right? No, you shouldn't. And they picked Tim Walz because, he's a white guy. And maybe you'll feel something simpatico with him because he's a white guy who eats white man tacos, however you want to say it. He'd probably say tacos. Let's take a look at this soundbite, a little clip from a commercial that Kamala's team, you wonder why she wasn't doing any campaigning. She was busy shooting a commercial with Tim Walz. It's a 9-minute whopper, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to show you a few seconds. Take a peek.
I talk about it being halftime in America. We're a touchdown down, and I kind of like the idea of being a little bit behind.
Well, I'm looking at Coach Walz right now. I'm looking at Coach Walz.
Like I have white guy tacos and
What is
like
that?
black,
Like mayonnaise and tuna? What are you doing?
pretty much ground beef and cheese.
That's
and,
okay. Do you put any flavor in it?
No.
Oh.
Here's the deal. No, they said to be careful and let her know this, that black pepper is the top of the spice level in Minnesota.
And then she offered him some cantaloupes. I'm laughing too much. Because you know what? You got to keep a sense of humor about these things. We have two people that are socialists bordering on socialist dictators, communist dictators, trying to win the most important offices in this land. And that's actually frightening. Really frightening. And we've been through it. I mean, think what we've been going through as a nation for the last couple of years. I mean, we went through the whole Bud Light fiasco. Now Harley-Davidson, it's up next. Harley-Davidson, it's like, oh my gosh, I just told you about this story yesterday, and yet we have a new wrinkle to report here today. The Wall Street Journal reporting that Harley-Davidson dealers are pretty upset with the company. They don't like the woke CEO. We'll get to that in a second, but they're also accusing the bike maker of hogging, pun intended, profits. Well, before you say it sounds like they sound like Kamala, in this case, you actually have a dealer who's been apparently flooding the dealerships, not the dealer, I should say, the main company, right? The corporation, Harley-Davidson, that's so focused on all their DEI, inclusivity, green stuff, that they're not focused on their core business. So what are they doing? They're trying to bleed their dealerships. So they're flooding them with cars, according to this association of dealers. If you go inside the article, you see that there's quite a few of them have come out and they are speaking. It's a group that represents more than 200 Harley-Davidson U.S. dealers. And they say the only way Harley-Davidson is actually able to boost its profit margins is at their expense. Well, why do you think? Because this is a company that's been focused on DEI for too long and sustainability for too long. And so guess what happens? Their actual business gets eroded. They're complaining, you see, because Harley's shipping too many bikes to too many dealerships, and then they're requiring them to redo their dealerships and make them all spiffy to be able to showcase those fancy bikes. Well, guess what? They're not going to be able to do it anymore because they're getting bled by the main company. So they're speaking out. The main company who got this guy, the CEO from Germany, who used to run their sustainability division. Not kidding. That was his claim to fame, other than running Puma before that. He was really into green energy and all this good stuff and sustainability and DEI and this, that, and the other. And so because he ran the sustainability division over at Harley-Davidson, suddenly he gets promoted to CEO and then goes on television and says nonsense like this.
It's no more to do some commercials for us, and the slogan was United We Ride. And we launched it just as we started to manufacture again, and that was sort of our comeback as a company into the world, opening our factories again and bringing everybody as diverse as we could possibly be as a business and a brand, and celebrate diversity and inclusion. And that's one of the reasons why I took the job, is because I believe in an incredible American icon and the transformation and the opportunity to contribute positively to a very divisive society. I believe that business and philanthropy and working together can make a significant impact. And I realize that politicians and politics can only do so much, and often they don't. But business can be a significant force for good, and not just because it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing also for the business itself.
But apparently it's not the right thing, really, for the business itself, because in your effort to do all that fancy stuff, guess what? The business itself has suffered. The dealers aren't making any more money. And so you've found new ways to bleed the business, or bleed them, I guess, in order to increase your profit margins for the main company and for shareholders. But when you take your eye off the ball, which is what all this DEI nonsense causes you to do, ESG, etc., you pay the consequences. Harley-Davidson is paying the consequences. Going back to the article in the Wall Street Journal, Harley-Davidson contends that no. They're doing fine, right? Take a look. The Harley spokesperson saying that it's really not that many dealers, because that network that's complaining, that represents only 589 of the 1,277 dealers worldwide. It's mostly American dealers that are mad. By the way, the workers are mad too. The workers are mad because they just shipped a whole bunch of jobs right over to Thailand. How do you like that for hogs? Getting made in Thailand doesn't really seem to be the American Harley-Davidson that we all knew. Not if it's getting made overseas, right? But, they got the German CEO who believes in all this DEI and ESG and globalism, etc. So why not take an American product and make it overseas? It goes on to say that, look, everyone's struggling with higher interest rates, and that's one of the reasons why the dealers are struggling. They also said that they're going to cut motorcycle shipments in the second half of this year to bring them in line with retail sales, and the company has suspended its facility upgrade requirements for dealers in 2025. So that is Harley-Davidson's response. But again, don't forget, the jobs going overseas, the dealers getting squeezed in America. The German guy, he only cares about DEI and ESG. And apparently that's been enough for his stock price. Not for long. It's getting exposed. Not for long. Mr. German CEO. Speaking of wokeness, have you been following the Representative Ana Paulina Luna scandal? The big scandal because somebody decided to bring up her old swimsuit photos from 2016 when she was a MAGA influencer, and she actually designed and sold swimsuits. So naturally, she wore a swimsuit in this particular video that she shared on all of her social pages. And oh my goodness, you're not supposed to do that. Not if you're a good-looking woman anyway, according to the libs. So they're trying to shame her. I don't know how you're going to shame her there. I think she's damn proud of it. She should be. Thank you very much. You know what? The woman looks good. Can we see her again? There we go. All right. So, and she's smart, by the way. She's a good representative from I believe the Tampa area of Florida, and she's doing a good job, and she's fighting a good fight, and she just happened to be in this swimsuit and was proud of it. back in 2016. Gee, Drew, you keep bailing on that video so early. Well, guess what? I got more coming your way, guys, because you know what? The whole sort of group of conservative women out there that saw this, they're so over it. So the left attacks her. They're like, she's this, that, and the other. And they're saying all kinds of bad things. And she's like, wait a second. Like, what happened? Like, you're a good looking woman in a swimsuit and they're going to like pound you. But hey, if you're a guy who wants to wear a swimsuit, Target's got a whole special line for you called Tuck It. Yep, there's the Tuck It swimsuit. Alex Stein, I've played his video so many times because he's just brilliant on this. Go check it out. It's in the feed or you can see his channel. But Alex, it's very, very funny. He's a YouTuber who's done this whole thing on, he like went to a Target and tried on the Tuck It. He's like, yep, it really tucks. It really tucks. Let me see if I can run in this thing. It really tucks. So if you are a guy wearing a Tuck It swimsuit and not a guy like Alex, right? Like you have to be like a Dylan trying to wear this, then it's A-okay. But if you're Anna Paulina Luna, you can't. So this is messed up. Really, really, really messed up. And women are getting kind of mad. They're like, hey, what's going on? Like, why is it that the guys wanting to be girls can steal all our thunder? They can be praised and put up on a pedestal and paid lots of money for wearing swimsuits, but the women who actually have the real parts, they can't. So this became kind of a thing on Twitter. And if you look at this guy, Ian Miles Cheon, he posted this one, and he's funny. Attractive conservative women are now posing in bikinis after illiberal and boring leftists tried and failed to mock Anna Paulina Luna. What do you think of this trend? What do you think of this trend? I'm imagining you probably kind of like it. Anyway, we got a whole bunch of, like one after another. They just kept coming and coming and coming all over Twitter right now. Elon Musk gotta love this, right? This is content. This is content. So there's this one. Oh, this lady, the Ms. Francesca, she's all in, she says. We get a few more, I think. Yeah, they're just like flooding. They're flooding Twitter with beautiful girls in bikinis. And then you got, on the flip side of things, the liberal women. How do you like the liberal women? I don't want to see them in bikinis. Thank you very much. No. Meanwhile, liberal women be like, we are beautiful women too. Wow. Can we go back to a bikini pic just to make me feel better? Like a real bikini pic? All right. So anyway, this has become a whole thing. Anna Paulina Luna starting a trend here, because it's not right. It's not fair. You shouldn't mock a woman in a swimsuit. She was funny about it. She's like, yeah, you know what? Hey, I wear bathing suits to the beach and I wear mineral sunscreen too, guys. And she also joked about how she's all woman. And that she is. Yours too, by the way, really and truly. There's nothing but woman here. Disney's Snow White has a couple women in it, and these two women seem to be kind of weirdly at odds right now, and politics seems to be in the way. And as is the case with Disney, politics is always in the way. It seems, at least when it comes to their film division. Parks and entertainment experiences, that's doing great. Rob and I over at 76 Research, if I haven't told you already, go to 76research.com. Let's put the banner up again so everybody can see it. 76research.com, because a lot of information there. You get full access to the archive there. And we sort of handhold you with you and walk you through what the best opportunities are in the markets right now. 76research.com. We've done a lot of reporting on Disney specifically. And so when I tell you that parks and themes and experiences, that's actually the cash cow for the company. I'm not kidding. The problem is it's like Snow White's begging for handouts from the parks division or the experiences division, because that's the only thing that's printing any money. The films division, on the other hand, has just been a disaster, and it's expected that Snow White is going to be a disaster too. It's already estimated to have cost somewhere around $350 million. We'll see what the final numbers look like, but they've got all kinds of problems. The problems have become so political. On the one hand, you have the newspaper over in Israel actually citing the fact that because Gal Gadot, who plays the evil step queen, like anyone can believe that, because she's like really, really drop dead gorgeous, and Rachel Zegler's like fine, but she's no Gal Gadot. And so Gal is now under fire because she's Israeli, and therefore Disney's under fire because they hired an Israeli actress. And so that's one component of it. And then you've got Rachel Zegler, who's like, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, and like tweeting this all day long. And so this movie has become sort of insanely political from that perspective. But you also had the issue of, why were they making, or remaking, I should say, Snow White in the first place? And why were they trying to touch on all these sort of cultural norms that they wanted to undo, such as the fact that, yeah, women are looking for Prince Charming. Who wouldn't be? And what guy isn't looking for his princess? Thank you very much. I mean, don't you want to fall in love? Apparently you're not supposed to. This is what Rachel Zegler was telling everyone. We got Rachel, Drew. That's Hollywood, baby.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Okay, she didn't do that this time. Well, she also goes on to say, Drew, I don't know if you have this one. I think that David sent it along, but we also have a longer soundbite. You can tell me. You can tell me in my ear. I can hear Drew. You can't hear Drew, but anyway, like, okay. So she actually had quite a few things to say about how you really just don't really need a man, and in fact, this story is not about a man. It's not about love, because you don't need that stuff, because hey, in modern society, like, it's all different. So she's like some 20 some odd year old actress in her early 20s, very political. It's too bad, actually, because I've told you before, I thought she did a very good job in West Side Story, and she has a lovely little voice. I mean, it's sort of right out of high school musical, like literally, like, you know, if you go to see a musical at your local high school, you might see a Rachel Zegler up there on stage playing Maria or playing Belle in Beauty and the Beast. I mean, she had that ingenue quality to her. And I say this as somebody who is pretty sophisticated in music and started out actually wanting to be an opera singer and trained specifically for that for many years, and went to a conservatory and all that jazz. So I have an experience in musical theater, in pop, in opera. I'm well versed. Hey, even Irish folk music. I can name a lot of Macomb and Clancy tunes any day of the week. I got to tell you about my trip to Ireland. Anyway, the point being that she's highly talented, like sort of average, but highly talented, averagely talented. Does that make sense to you? You know, again, just think High School Musical in your local hometown, anywhere in America, and you can find a Rachel Zegler up there on stage. So somehow somebody plucks her out of New Jersey, puts her in West Side Story. She gets uber political. Next thing you know, oh, all of LA loves her. And she's like, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. And you get the sense that it's a little bit of a dig at Gal Gadot. So I think this is going to be a problem for the movie, because it's sort of like Bud Light. You know, they're getting hit from all sides. They're getting hit from the people that are very free Palestine. They're getting hit there. And then they're getting hit from the people that don't like Rachel Zegler saying that. So if we have this, and then they're getting hit by this, like moms who are like, well, I don't really appreciate the values of this young woman. I mean, if you have a daughter, you want her to grow up and aspire to meet a great guy who will help take care of her. And you want your son to meet a great woman that, by the way, will help take care of him, right? That's what being in a relationship is about. Two people taking care of one another and loving each other. But that's apparently just passé for the likes of Rachel. Let's watch. I think we got it, Drew, right? Making sure that I still have my... No, okay, Drew doesn't have it, so we're going to move on. Anyway, you get the point, you get the point, you get the point. We got Rachel Zegler trying to give us cultural lessons. My God. And in the meantime, you've got the Snow White movie that's probably not going to make any money. And so it's going to be going back hat in hand, looking for money. He's got it. See, I put him on speakerphone. What do you know? Okay, we're going to watch it. Live, baby.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
So no Prince, or a different kind of Prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story, just because like we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yep. It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Are you going to see it? I think I'm going to go see Brett Cooper's version of Snow White, and that's over at Daily Wire, and Ben Shapiro. I just have a feeling it'll be a little closer tradition. In the meantime, they're getting hit from the whole PC community about the dwarfs and everything. They actually spent an entire year apparently working on research to figure out whether or not they should have dwarfs, or whether they should have, because it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or whether they should have tall people. Or they wound up going with regular sized people. Pretty much anybody's taller than Rachel Zegler. I think she could have been cast actually as one of the little people. Anyway, they went with all tall people, men and women, and the folks that would have had those parts as the Seven Dwarfs, they were not too happy. Wee Man, do you have this one? I'm almost afraid to ask her. Do you have it? Tell me.
Replacing jobs
Yes.
that people could have as little people. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it's for dwarfs. Why are you hiring Snow White and the Seven average people? They want to make it right. They redo the movie and they recast. Okay. Sometimes they have to lose. They lost it then. And now they got to come back better. Make it better, Disney.
All right. So Wee Man's not happy. So you understand, this is a problem movie. This is the problem movie. Just like Bud Light was a problem drink and still remains a problem drink. In fact, that company is just getting so badly hit because sales of Bud Light, they're still down. Because do you really want to be caught drinking a Bud Light? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's kind of the same thing on Snow White. They're going to get hit from all sides. And so they will be going hat in hand saying, parks and themes, please, do you have any money? And if I'm Bob Iger, I'm looking at my film division saying, you guys better get it together. Bob Iger's the CEO of Disney. Because we don't have a lot of time for this. So stop with the woke BS and actually come up with some real content that people want to watch. I don't know if people will want to watch this next movie I'm talking about, this one that Blake Lively is in. But I will say that the scandal around the PR, that in and of itself is like a movie. So do you know who Blake Lively is? Maybe, maybe not. She was in Gossip Girl. I loved Gossip Girl. Full disclosure. I mean, I watched it when I was 37, right? So when my young teenage girls are like, can we watch this? I'm like, no, you can't watch that. That's clearly for an adult woman. Anyway, Gossip Girl was very entertaining. It was kind of like Dallas on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, except with a much younger cast. So, and more aggressive, right, than something like Dallas would have been, because, well, it's a more aggressive time in society, shall we say. So it is that show that sort of made her famous, and then she became a kind of big deal Hollywood actress. And she seems like she's nice. Her dad was a captain in the Marine Corps, so she's got that going for her. She seems like she's probably a pretty nice person. I mean, as far as Hollywood goes, I stumbled across this clip. And I want to show you before we get into all the saga and all that. People hate her right now. They just hate her. I think she's Taylor Swift's friend too. So take it for what it's worth. Neither here nor there. But this clip, she looked like a nice person. Drew, let's cue this one up for folks. She's on the red carpet there. You can see she's with her husband, Ryan Reynolds. He's Canadian. So, we don't really have anything against Canadians. His brother is a Mountie. Like a policeman in Canada, so that's kind of cool. But look, she went over there. She's on this red carpet with one of her co-stars in this new movie Can we watch it one more time, Drew? So let's just see it again here. You see Blake Lively, and she's there at this event. The movie's called It Ends With Us. And she runs and grabs his girlfriend, and she's like, hey, come join us on the red carpet. And I just somehow stumbled across that in my feed. I don't know why it was there, but I thought, like she seems like she's nice. And then somebody who doesn't like her very much, her co-star in this new movie, and I say he doesn't like her. I mean, like this is the rumor, right? This is Doc in Hollywood. He and she apparently had artistic difficulties, and consequently, they kind of had some issue. I think Evie Magazine put out a little statement from him, Drew, if you have it. He talks about these artistic differences and what he is hoping that people will take away from the magazine. This is Justin Baldoni. Do you have the video of him by any chance? Just let me know in my ear if you do or you don't. He spoke of friction on It Ends With Us set with Blake Lively. He's saying, you know what, like, it creates beautiful art. So yes, there was maybe a little bit of friction, but we got a better movie because of it. Let's go to him talking just briefly about the movie.
What comes to mind isn't so much about the work that went into it, but about the why behind it. If a Lily Bloom in real life can sit in this theater and maybe make a different choice for herself than was made for her.
Okay,
Maybe
so that's from an interview he did with Entertainment Tonight, and you see him. I'd actually never even heard of him before, but that's neither here nor there because Trish Regan doesn't know a whole lot about Hollywood. Drew, had you ever heard of him? Drew probably doesn't. No, okay, and Drew knows more about Hollywood than I do. Anyone knows more about Hollywood than I do. It's a low bar. But all that said, I definitely had never seen him. And so he bought the rights to this movie and he starred in it. He directed it. And she was in it. She was like a producer, but not as high up as him. And apparently she was kind of upset with some stuff. And she started having her husband, Ryan Reynolds, rewrite some of the scenes. And so the next thing you know, it just sort of blows up in everyone's face. New York Times is actually reporting on this. Like I said, it ends with us. It's like, what ends? Everything ends. Forget about the movie for a second, which by the way is really, really heavy topic. And I just don't even want to go there. You heard him talk about it. It's something about domestic violence and stuff. So whatever. I don't want to see the movie anyway, but it's far more interesting to read about the discourse between these guys. So my tendency and my bias is actually to like Blake Lively. And maybe it's just because her dad was a captain in the Marine Corps. Maybe it's just because I liked Ryan Reynolds in a couple of movies, that one that he was in with Gal Gadot and The Rock. I think, he seems like his brother's a police officer in Canada. And so this Justin guy that I've never seen before, that Drew's never seen before, that cast her and directed this thing, he hired some big deal PR agent, the one that actually represented Johnny Depp when he was in that mess with Amber Heard. And this PR agent has all of a sudden been able to sort of unearth all this bad stuff about poor Blake Lively. So now there's this full-on onslaught. And I know we should say, look, she should be able to deal with it. She's a Hollywood star. Look what Trump deals with. Heck, right? But it's still just unfortunate. So everybody's making a big deal about this little interview that she did in which she kind of gave it back to the reporter that was asking her questions. I always find these Hollywood interviews so nauseating, right? They kind of make your skin crawl because everybody's just being paid to act. I mean, you want to talk about scripted questions? This is why you got to worry about George Clooney involved in Kamala Harris's campaign. You want to talk about scripted questions. So they script the questions, they give them to the reporter. It's all about access. It's access journalism. The reporter, in this case, the podcast host, reads off the questions that the people that are promoting the movie want her to ask. And she's just trying to be nice. And everybody's just trying to do their job. But apparently Blake, who was pregnant with maybe her third or fourth or fifth, she's got a ton of kids, her child didn't really enjoy doing that interview and said something kind of snarky. I didn't think it was that bad, but watch. And keep in mind, sorry, wait 1 second. Just keep in mind, pregnant women get asked about their bump a lot. It's kind of like annoying, right? Like, so I hear her, I feel her on this. Watch.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
And these, they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Thank you. Thank you. You like the movie or you
Everyone
digital?
wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would. I love Jesse's
He has some
suits and
beautiful.
how
That's what I'm
he
saying. His
chose
wardrobe
it.
was
Oh,
beautiful.
I know.
Corey's
Everybody.
wardrobe
I
was
know.
gorgeous.
He's
Those
so
high-waisted pants.
He's so great.
I wish men
And
wore
sorry,
high-waisted pants
too.
like
I
that
know.
still.
Me
Or
too.
their father with his tank top in
Oh,
bed.
it's so
Just
good.
like it's just like
Did you
that.
catch
You could feel
the
it.
tablecloth on the light in the Italian restaurant when they eat spaghetti?
I didn't
and
notice that. No.
There's
Yeah,
so
but
much
like-
warmth of everything, you know.
Yeah, it's not just the women that have the clothes.
But
I feel like the women
Victoria-
get the conversation, but it's like
Yeah.
every detail with everybody.
But yeah,
It's so,
it was
so
amazing
beautiful.
to look at.
Steve's
and then to see
white
it.
suits.
Yes.
And then
What do you feel like is the biggest misconceptions about fame and Hollywood in general?
I think the idea that people think that they know you, I think because of the how intrusive media is these days, there's people care so much more about your personal life than they do your work, and if you aren't open with your personal life, then they just make it up for you and share it for you. So I think the biggest misconception I see often is people feeling like they know someone that they don't, because they know what the media has created of someone. And the disappointing thing is when you meet the people, they're always so much more awesome than they're portrayed to be. I mean, that's normally my experience. And even people that are portrayed to be really great people, they're just a lot more complicated and interesting and nuanced and caring and thoughtful. And that's always nice, you know, to see that your idea of someone isn't always who they actually are, but be pleasantly surprised.
Well, we're just, you know, inundated with a lot of material. You can be if you have the internet. Of, you know, reading about these people and thinking that you know them and all that, and it's like the spectacle of that, of what we do as actors, that has risen a lot more in the past decade than ever before. So, yeah, misconceptions.
Okay. All right. We've heard enough. I don't see a problem with it. Any of it. The two things that like people are all worked up about is like that she made a joke about the other lady's bump. And somehow then said, well, you know, why doesn't anybody ask about the men's? Like, I don't see it as that bad. But that podcast host, you saw that one. She's like from the Netherlands, or I don't know. She's foreign. She's from Europe. Norwegian. Okay, so the Norwegian. Thank you, Drew. The Norwegian lady who's doing that interview just posted this the other day and wrote something scandalous like the interview with Blake Lively that made me want to quit my job forever. Okay? Did you really think that was that bad? I would say that podcast host has a very thin, fragile skin, or might be getting a little bit of something on the side from the PR firm that was just hired by the guy, Justin Baldoni, whatever his name is, that is mad about Blake Lively because there were some artistic differences on set. And she apparently said that he lingered on the kiss in the movie. And he also fat shamed her because she's a tall girl, and he asked how heavy she was. He went around the set and started asking about her weight because he was going to have to lift her in one of the scenes, to which I just say, buddy, like, get over it, man up, go lift some weights for God's sakes. You're the one who hired her for your movie. All right. She's a tall girl. You better get stronger. Don't go around and just keep asking. I mean, oh my goodness. Anyway, it's a Friday, so we can talk about these things, right? We got a big week coming up. Biden is furious. This guy's really mad. I mean, really, 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 really mad because he's not going to be the next president of the United States. I mean, even if he had been, he wouldn't have made it through. I don't think he would have made it through any of it. I don't think he would have ever gotten elected. I don't think Kamala's going to get elected, but they've got the DNC going on next week. All next week. Lucky us. Oh boy. Do you really think she's going to be able to ride this wave? I kind of think it's peaked, but we'll see. We'll see what the polls say. This is all going down. You know, this is a guy who's so angry, and his family is clearly angry because they all promised that he was going to stay in this race. I mean, even when the chips were down, right? He was still saying this.
If you're going to drop out, what you going to do? Well, here's my answer. I am running and going to win again.
Yeah. Except Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, Chuck Schumer, and the mainstream media said, nope, it's not happening. So even though the American people elected Joe to top their ticket, some other folks decided it wasn't going to happen. Now, Alex Wagner, who is a host over on MSNBC, and a crazy one at that, but you know, it goes with the territory if you work as a host at MSNBC. Alex had this to say when she went on with Stephen Colbert the other day, effectively sort of admitting the truth that she doesn't think should really come out, that you don't have the right to know, but you already know. Watch. Good reason you're not supposed to hear about it. You're not supposed to know what really went down because they've made a decision. But you know what? I'll tell you what went down. Nancy Pelosi called him, and it was like a fateful phone call because up until then, by the way, the poor guy's like suffering from COVID. So he's nursing his COVID. He gets a call from Nancy Pelosi, who tells him that she's going to demand that he resign unless he actually resigns, and that she had some polls that she was going to make public and this, that, and the other. And so he had no choice, which is why, you know, Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden have kind of had this falling out. And so we'll see what happens next week at the DNC. Already there's like a zillion protests that are being organized. But Nancy Pelosi, you know, she's been on 60 Minutes and she went on CNN, and she's caught every single time as people ask her, like, what happened to your relationship with Joe? And she's sort of like, you know what? Because listen, I'm going to tell you this. Who needs enemies when you got friends like Nancy Pelosi who are really willing to do you in? Yeah, she did them in. She did them in, ladies and gentlemen. So how do you like that? It'll be an interesting DNC. I will be here with you through all of it. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you share. Make sure you go over and visit my financial research company at 76research.com. Go and check out the YouTube channel. I'm going to be right there right now. I'll see you in like 5 minutes over at 76 Research. At 70. In fact, you know what? Can I do this? Can Trish Regan actually type and talk at the same time? Because you know what? I might even put it in the chat right now. Or maybe one of you guys could do it for me, because you know I'm not that talented. Does anybody know how to? Oh, I'll do it. I'll do it at 76research.com. I'll see you there.